Welcome back to the Football Insights podcast, where we go beyond the scoreline and break football down from a tactical perspective. In today's episode, we're taking a closer look at Bafana Bafana's 1-0 defeat to Canada. We'll examine the tactical approach from both sides, discuss how Canada managed to gain the upper hand, and where Bafana succeeded and where they struggled, and whether the result reflected the overall performance. Thabo, I'll start with you. Thank you for joining us. What's your overall feelings on the game and our exit from the World Cup?
Thank you so much for having me, man. Do you want my emotional feelings or my tactical feelings?
Both.
Obviously, yeah. I think we played well in some moments. I think we executed. I think the game plan was there, but obviously emotionally we're not okay because I think it was a game for the taking, and if we used our offensive moments properly, we could have obviously buried some few chances. But yeah, it's one of those games where when you look back, it's a tough one to take. Last minute goal, and you can't do anything really. It's you're out of the tournament, you're going back home, and you're going home with regrets. But yeah, that's my take on it so far.
Reyaad, what was your overall thoughts on the performance?
I thought a bit of a slow start, to be honest. I thought maybe also Canada with a bit more intensity, obviously being the home team. I thought second half we started off a lot better. Very good from us. I felt like we didn't test the goalkeeper enough. Ozzy tried and he didn't look very comfortable, to be honest. Felt like if we maybe had a bit more or a lot more attempts on goal, feel like we could have maybe snapped something up there. So, but overall, obviously disappointed. But the boys should feel really proud of the achievements. Very good, very very good.
One of the big talking points in the last episode was who will start in this game. Musi, was there any surprises with the Bafana and Canada lineups?
I don't think there was any surprise with the Bafana lineup. I think if you look at how we finished off the last game, I kind of expected Evidence to be starting, and I think he did have a good game as well. With the Canada lineup, again, obviously there was a little bit of mind games about whether Alphonso Davies would start or not, but I think he would come off the bench after such a long layoff. And yeah, no real surprises in the game in terms of lineup.
Gulam, Jesse Marsh had promised that Alphonso Davies would be ready to play against Bafana, and then when the lineups came out, he wasn't there. Do you think we were a little relieved that he wasn't in the starting lineup?
I think if they did the analysis and research, I think they would have planned if he started, but probably anticipated that he may not and definitely would come on. Or the opposite, if he started, he may not finish the game. So I would assume that from a backroom staff point of view, they would have had all their bases covered.
So tactically, this game was quite fascinating. We saw in the opening stages, Carl Bafana were very patient, waiting for Canada to engage in the first phase, despite boos from the crowd. What was the thinking behind us waiting for them to engage?
Well, it's difficult for us to sit here and say what is the reason, but we can, from where we're sitting, we can maybe think of certain scenarios that why they were doing that. From my view, it's basically wanting Canada to come at them and jump at them and try and find the spaces behind, or waiting for them to make the decision on how they want to press. I think a lot of goalkeepers in Riyadh can maybe answer this as well. Is they wait for the press or the moment where they initiate the press to decide on which way we're going to go or pass. So I think we were basically waiting for Canada to make the move or for them to come and we can use the spaces behind. That's from my point of view, but obviously we don't know what was the instruction that was given to the team in that moment. But I think Canada also did really well just holding their press and starting their first line of confrontation on our midfield line, which allowed us to make that first pass to a centre back or something, and then they would engage in the press. And they didn't, not once did they actually jump and move. They waited for us to make that pass first, which is a good thing because then they, for Canada, it's a good thing because then they can direct the press on how they want to do it. Yeah.
Tabo, what did you make of our build-up structure?
I think, as Carl said, Canada was a bit patient in terms of not jumping into the press, so which allowed Ronwen and Ocon to have a lot of time and space on the ball. But if you look at our build-ups, mostly was going into relay or into that small pocket behind the midfield and the in front of the centre backs, or trying to go beyond to Mahopa for a flick on or to compete with the big boys in terms of holding the ball and obviously playing off him. So in terms of the build-ups, we didn't really play through the block. We tried to go over the press or beyond the press, and it worked in some moments when Mbokazi found a police in that hole and they could advance. So I think yes, there were some good moments, but if you look at the stats, we had a lot of ball possession in the first phase, and yes, we were patient, but we didn't really use the moments in terms of when we go beyond to get into the final third, because we only had like 90 passes into the final third, and about 60% of those were successful. So yeah, you can look at it and think we had a lot of ball possession, but did we really hurt them in terms of creating big chances? I don't think so. But yeah, the performance was good in terms of our offensive actions.
Yeah. If you look also, adding on to what Thabo just said now, when we did get the ball to Ocon a few times, Canada looked almost really aggressive to try and close him down. And then he was able then to get the ball to Ronwen, and with the first time pass, Ronwen was able to find Mbokazi, who was almost wide left of the box or almost on the touchline. And I think it happened twice, and Mbokazi was able to find Apollos, I think, with one of those, and one maybe was hit a little bit long. But after that, Canada also, I think, realized as much as the ball keeps going to Mbokazi, they need to put pressure on him much quicker. And I think they did that, which meant the kicks were still long, but a little less accurate. And so it was just a nice tactical game between our build-up or our backline players and their attackers to try and figure out the gaps and the ways in which they could exploit us. But we also did have moments where we played out really well from the back. Not as many as we would like. And then obviously maybe a bad pass or a bad touch let us down. But I just think it was a good tactical chess game between their attack and our defense as well.
This was the second, if not third time, that the opponents wait until the centre back receives the ball to start pressing us. Ria, do you think this is the best way to press Bafana because of Ronwen's great ability on the ball?
I feel like that ability of Ranza gives us so much time to assess what's going to happen next, So that time that he has or that he creates for everyone to get into position or basically be ready, very, very vital. You could see Canada weren't pressing. They knew that once someone jumps, there's going to be someone that's going to be left free, and they knew that they didn't want that. So the long ball would work in their favor, which I feel like it really helped them a lot. Mahopa won a few balls in the air, but you don't really want to play um, longer balls with the centre backs because the ball's coming right back. So I felt like maybe Canada felt probably that Ocon was the weaker or the less comfortable of the centre back pairing, and that's why they decided to give him a little bit more time. But I feel like I said that la pause basically that Ranza has helped the team so much, and Canada struggled to deal with it.
Kulam, can you help us as fans? Because sometimes when we see Mbokazi play this ball over the top and it's nowhere near the strikers or the wingers, as fans we're going, okay, we're running out of ideas. But sometimes is there a little bit more to it in terms of Bafana not wanting to fall for the trap that Canada is setting by playing inside, or maybe they're looking to exploit the mid block. Is there sometimes more layer to it, or do you think sometimes we're just like we're running out of ideas?
No, I wouldn't like to say we run out of ideas. There's definitely a game plan. If you're building up from the back, the premise is to invite pressure. And in contrast, Canada were not really willing to unfold and be invited into the press. So if the first line breaks, and then it's easier to find the midfielder in the next line and then progress the play a little bit more forward. I think, and with Mbokazi, I think it's a little bit tricky because the pass is so good that he finds it, whether it's down the line directly to Evidence or to the number 10 or Relay in this case. He finds it so well. So sometimes, and again, we don't know if this was a plan from Canada, is almost allow Mbokazi to make the pass and deal with marking the next phase. And they did that really well because those passes when they were receiving, almost like if you go back a little bit to the first game where there was always pressure on that the receiver from the pass from Mbokazi. And I think in the early stages of the game, could have almost said they were looking to exploit a little bit of a high line that Canada had because they found the pass behind once or twice. So you have to play the game the way it's presented to you. We can have the plans, the analysis, and if the opponents do something different, then you have to adjust. So I wouldn't say it's running out of ideas. It's maybe playing the situation more.
Carl, we saw in previous games Canada play a 4-4-2, even a narrow 4-4-2. What did you make of their tactical structure today?
Today, I actually saw when they're in possession, they were very narrow in possession and kind of the fullbacks kind of tucking in. And what it did was it created a lot of central overloads for them. And we had to be compact, we had to be narrow and compact in defense. But, I think there was one or two moments, actually a bit more, than when they were in possession and they were going side to side and they move the ball quickly to the opposite side. We struggled to shift a bit, and they were able to find some spaces on the opposite side, but very overloaded in the central spaces and wingers inside, midfielders inside, every fullbacks inside, and but I still feel that even though they had that overload, we generally we dealt with it really well when they were in possession. Um, but also, if I just want to just touch on something a little bit as well, is I felt that we lost the ball a lot in easy situations, easy moments. We gave away possession in critical moments as well, and it kind of played into Canada's hands a bit. But I also think that Canada also gave the ball away quite easily at times, and that for me it kind of, in my opinion, this is my honest opinion, I think it just put the kind of a dampening on the game because it was, you go in with expectations the last round, the last 32, and you expect something a bit more, but I feel that both teams will look at their performance and say that we could have held the ball better. But overall, it was a decent tactical performance from both teams.
Yeah, but what did you make of Canada's tactical shape and Bafana's?
Very interesting approach from obviously both teams, but Canada came still with the 1-4-4-2 from the group stages until our games, obviously our game. And in terms of their block as well, they were alternating between, you'll see when sometimes they'll go into a 4-4-2 diamond in defending the build-up, and then they'll change it back into a 2+4. The next line will be a straight 4. So they were playing a little bit around with it. So if we look, when they went into that one, when they were trying to put the player on Yaya, and then we played over the top, it means that they had the CDM isolated. That's when we could receive that pass into the pockets. But when they went into a flat 2+4, that's when we struggled. Once we play that long pass into Mahopa or into Relay or into Apollos, that's when they could execute and press us well into the next phase. But again, for me, it's more of we had the moments to play and we did well, but 70 long passes, it tells us that today we kind of relied a lot on long passes. If we have 70 long passes in one game, so it says that maybe our approach today was not to really play, or the opposition made us not to play well in terms of how we used to play. But I think some moments they did benefit us, the long passes, but in some moments not. We already discussed that. But I think for Canada as well, both fullbacks inverting or going higher up in terms of in possession, and then the wingers taking the wide channels, the wide spaces. They tried that a little bit, but in the final third, we were a bit compact. And they had obviously time to shift the ball, as Carl said, and then in those moments they could pick us in a combination. But we did very well in terms of defending as well. So I think it was a very good tactical approach from both teams, and we learned a lot in terms of just watching from home.
Reyaad, I want to go to you first about our set pieces. I felt like Canada had a lot of opportunities from set pieces. It appeared, and you can correct me, but it appeared that we went with a man-for-man system. What did you make of our setup on set pieces?
To be honest, I felt like Canada looked dangerous every set piece they got, you know. But again, it comes to the size and the aggression. Every set piece they got, there was one set piece that they had where the guy didn't connect the ball. That was a free header. I thought it was offside. Obviously not, but like I just thought, they were so aggressive. Yeah, the man marking didn't feel like it worked. There was the one where I think Debza lost his man. But overall, I just felt like they were so much more dominating than what we were. I don't think we really caused much of a aerial threat to them, to be honest with you.
Musi, if you're going to deploy a man-for-man system, what is key to making that work?
The most important thing is you have to make sure that your man doesn't get on the ball, right? But the way Canada tried to create chances for themselves, especially on corner kicks, we had the two guys at the near post zonal, and they moved the rest of us, or they started their positioning after the penalty spot. So it created about this 5-6 meter gap, maybe even 10-meter gap between those two zonal markers and them, which allowed them space. I think if you remember the first corner, I'm not sure, one of the Canadian players side-footed it wide, but he ran into that space. He was a bit more aggressive. And then obviously the header, there were two headers, one went wide and one went over the post. And then the free kick was the one that the guy didn't connect too well. And then, so like Reyaad said, every set piece was dangerous from them. But on the corner kicks, on man marking, first you have to make sure that your man doesn't get there. Second, you have to be aware of any blocks that the team might do. Because if, for example, me and Gulam are both gonna attack the ball, but maybe I know, or our team knows that I'm stronger than Gulam, then I use Gulam as a blocker, so he'll block my man or run across my path and block my defender and give me that little extra second that I need. So you have to identify those quickly, and it might involve a quick takeover. It might mean that we change who we're marking in the moment as it's happening, because I've lost my man because he's blocking. So the guy who's blocking me is now my man, and you take the guy who's run through. So there's a lot of intricate detail that goes in. And then obviously the delivery. If the guy can deliver it into those areas consistently, it means we have to be first on the ball all the time. And so, yeah, Canada were threatening on set pieces today.
Carl, with defensive set pieces, specifically corners, if you have a man on the front post, on the back post, are you already on the back foot?
In my opinion, yes, because nowadays people put numbers in the box when they're attacking, and you're already setting up. If, for example, we went with the two zonal, as Musi said, in the near post, that's already two markers that you're taking out. And nowadays most teams go with between 6 and 8 players in the box. So you have to. The main objective when defending set pieces is to defend the set piece. You have to make sure you defend it and you don't concede. So having one near post, one far post, it's a bit old school, but it depends on how you want to set up. Each coach has their own way of doing things. So from my point of view, I just feel that with us already having the two on the near post in the zonal position, we need more numbers in the back end to defend man marking, especially. So yeah, that's just my view on the defensive side of it. Everybody needs to come back and defend. All 10 needs to be back to defend. Yeah.
Gulam, there was a few box entries from Canada. How were they able to hurt us and find space?
Yeah, the final phases, well, Probably with a lot of the teams that we faced. In the final phase or in our defensive third, they're a little bit more patient instead of putting the ball in the box. So the player on the ball is, in this case, decides what the next action is, and he's delaying and he's waiting for support to come, and more secure support. So those intricate passes is when you are defending and they enter your box, you are worried about the dribble, the step over, and giving away a foul or a penalty. So you as a defender, you tend to give a little bit more space than you should. And then it allows. So even there's moments where there's 2v1 and you can make the pass between. And it's something that guys like Rele and that do really well, Rele, Apollos, Moremi, Tebza, when they in and around those pockets, and they do that very well offensively at their teams. But in the box, it's the ball carrier becomes the most important, but it has to have movements, and the players looking for movements must look for spaces, not necessarily just to get into the box. And even when you see the goal that we conceded, and maybe I'm jumping the gun, we had 3 players free in the box. And there's Tebza, who's a little bit late to defend the box instead of waiting to see what happens. And then the players who are coming from, like, it's unfortunately it's Yaya who's trying to break out to clear the ball or block the shot, and he's also too late. So defending space in those moments don't become important. You still have to find ways to defend the players or defend the man, and let the players who must deal with the cross deal with the cross.
Thabo, at halftime, Mbata came on for Rele. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't see that coming, but obviously, technical team has their own reasons. I think the approach was maybe because we saw that once that happened, Debza went higher up with the talent, and then Yaya sat alone. So I think maybe there was a change in terms of the approach, maybe to strengthen the midfield, because when Rela was on the ball, the moment that he was on the ball, he did look a bit effective. But however, I think also the physical aspect of the game, you saw there were moments where he was being pushed around, bullied around a little bit. So I think maybe the tactical approach might be that he got a knock, or maybe they were trying to strengthen the midfield with the robustness of talent and Debza and Yaya in the midfield just to control that.
Yeah, sorry if I can just add on to that. Like, I actually thought that was a good idea to go to a 3-man midfield with a 1-6 and a double 8, because what you end up doing is you end up adding an extra number in attack. So now you have 5 that's going forward. And I thought it was a good idea because you needed to start finding those pockets easier and earlier. But also what it did was it also adjusted how Canada was pressing. So they had to change the shape a bit. And if you saw at the beginning of the second half, Yaya had a bit more time, and he could move around, and we could start passing the ball into midfield from a build-up phase. But for me, that change was a good thing because we even started to go. We looked a bit better going forward and in attack because we had that extra number in those positions, and I actually thought it was a good idea. It's nothing. I don't think it was anything against Rele's performance or anything like that, but it's a good tactical change, and I saw the result. I saw something change in the team in terms of attack. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was a good sub in my opinion.
yeah. And I think also the coaching staff was trying to create more goal scoring opportunities for us, by maybe moving Debs a little bit higher, getting him within shooting range. There was one instance where Debs was a bit higher, when Dawi had pushed high, so that pushed Apollos inside as well. And I think that's also why Apollos ended up getting those couple of shots as well, because now you have 2 guys who are really comfortable and really good shooting, because we weren't really finding any other ways. We weren't getting many crosses in, and or through balls into the striker. So I think this was another way also, apart from strengthening midfield, we were also putting players in positions where we could get some shots from range. I think you even earlier when Mbata came on, there was a run that he made directly through the middle as well. So I think the coach was just trying to make sure that we have numbers in and around the box as well to try and create the goal scoring chance.
Reyaad, it was clear in the first half that our wingers were a bit isolated. With us having 2 8s now, it seemed like they had more freedom. We were able Tebza making his runs in behind was able to drag the right back, which gave Apollos a bit more time, and same on the other side. What did you make of that change at halftime?
No, I felt like it definitely it helped a lot. So I always feel like, I mean, when you've got wingers, um, like your Aussie, like your Masekos, 1v1, and especially in South Africa, I feel like that's what we need to utilize more. Take him on, even if you're gonna lose the ball, go at him. It's fine. There will be there's always going to be cover. Your orbs, your talent who came in to help may give the midfield that extra number really, really helped and gave Tebs also, like you say, the license to go forward with those late runs. It definitely helped us. And like I said, we need to utilize our 1v1, our players more. And they will really be more and more effective in the game. Aussie, when we had those moments, you could see what the capabilities he was coming inside. Um, Obviously, just maybe just the decision making or technique, but otherwise, I felt like that tactical change helped us a lot.
Now, Canada then proceeded to make some changes. Heading into the 80th minute, we had only made one change. Did you feel that we needed to add some oomph, or were you happy with the 11 that were playing?
This is a difficult question to answer because again we're not sitting there, we don't know what the objective was, but from the outside in, yeah, maybe we could have added some fresh legs earlier, but also you have the fact of it's the 80th minute. There's a possibility of extra time. How do you manage that space? It becomes a tricky situation to decide on. You can either make the call and put your subs on, and you end up going into extra time, and you might not have subs that you can put on at later. So it's a difficult thing to comment on, but you know the coaches could, or the technical team could have also felt that the players that were on the pitch was probably the players that's going to give you the goal, give you the opportunity, and they had faith in that. And I think we need to back that as well, because it's easy to sit here and say in hindsight, oh, we should have changed this, we should have done that. But we're watching the game. What at that point you still felt like we had something and we could have scored. So that's the way I see it. I'm okay that we didn't really make those changes quickly.
Yeah, but what were you feeling at the time? Did you think we needed some changes, or were you happy with the 11 that was playing?
I think we had the game under control. So I think the coaching staff and the technical team maybe didn't really see, as Cal said, they probably thought of if it goes to extra time, then we can introduce the other players. But I think until the 80th minute, we were okay. Even when we brought on Iki, I think it was obviously a good addition because of the speed and obviously his goal scoring abilities. So just to wrap the game up, but. I think we were still okay. We managed the game well. We were still on the ball. Yes, there were a bit of transition moments that we could have dealt with better, but I think we're still okay. And we didn't really delay any changes. I think the coaching staff were a bit patient with it.
Musi, what tactical shifts did you see in that second half?
Yeah. The first thing actually, which I found really interesting, was the momentum shifts that, right up to the hydration break in the first half and the hydration break in the second half, we seemed to be really in control. High tempo, passing, movements, pressing. After the hydration breaks, both hydration breaks, Canada almost started to, how would I say, raise the game a little bit. But what I saw, especially in the second half, was we exploited their right fullback. He almost seemed more concerned about Mudiba advance, that he always left Apollos coming inside between him and the centre back. So Apollos was always finding himself between the right back and the right centre back. Again, as we mentioned, with the changes that happened at halftime, we started to get more players centrally inside. And I think we also just we wanted to try come up with ideas to find out how we can exploit them. When Ronwen was on the ball a bit, you saw Mbokazi sometimes going right to the line, almost looking to try and drag one of the striker who was closer to him out. But Canada was so disciplined in creating that central block. They didn't want to open it. And I think they were really happy with us just kicking the long ball because they felt they could win the second balls. But what really impressed me quite a bit from both sides was the tempo and the actions that were happening at high tempos. I mean, you would see Canada attack us, lose the ball. Immediately we go back. You see players running back, tracking back to defend. With us, I saw Maseko coming back to help Modao. I saw Modao coming back. I saw Ocon getting across. So in terms of that, I think it was just a really well thought out tactical game from both sides. But at this level, it's the minor details, once or twice we got a pass maybe to a striker and then maybe the control was not good enough. Whereas we saw with Canada, with the two strikers they had up front, they were causing us a bit more problems, getting into our box, into our areas, with the left back overlapping. I was really impressed by, I think his name is Miller, the left winger, especially in the first half. His ability to take on players in 1v1s as well created some problems for us. We never really got those dangerous overlapping runs into the box that we get from Modao and from Mudiba, like we got in the South Korea game. So yeah, it was tactically, there was a lot happening in that game, and it was really a really nice game to watch.
Gulam, you touched on it earlier, the goal that we concede. Was it a simple, unfortunate goal, or was there things we could have done to prevent that goal?
Any goal conceded, there's always ways to prevent it. There's always things to look at that can say it shouldn't have been conceded. But I think the ball speed, and we spoke about it in previous episodes, the ball speed on the right-hand side for them to play through us and find the space behind Aubrey, and then the cutback part or the cross that's not cleared at least. And it's important because we had Yaya dropping a lot between the centre backs, or dropping to support them, not always between, and he did that well for many moments. And those are the moments in the game when it works. If the clearance is not central, it's a little bit away, it looks like he's done a great job. Now it's fallen to the attacker, and like I said earlier, Tebza's a little bit late. React earlier. I always try and say, instead of reacting to the defensive position, try defend it earlier and rest in that position. So if Tebza was there earlier, ball falls to his feet, or it's easier for him to block, and the shot is not as easy to connect with for the attackers. So there's a lot of things that could have been better. But yeah, it's margins, and Musi mentioned it. It's the moment of brilliance that determines the outcome of games. If Tebza's shot, if someone followed up on it in the first half, maybe something could have fallen for us. The Osman one, we had someone following up, but I think that was off target. So it's those moments, and both teams probably had more to do from outside the box than inside the box, because both teams defended so narrow and tried to look after the box as much as possible. And in saying that, Canada probably found their way through a little bit more. But yeah, I think for majority of the game we did well, and it's the moment. Eventually, if you're persistent in what you're doing, you'll get a better chance. You may not score a little bit closer to Ronwen. It's a brilliant save. But yeah, we can break that goal down for days.
Reyaad, what did you make of the goal? Would you be shouting at your centre backs to clear wide? What was your verdict?
Um, Look, sometimes you also need to give, like Gully says, there's each goal you can nitpick and criticize that this player could have done that better. But sometimes that was a good strike. That was in the corner. Ocon and I don't know who it was. I think it was Mbukazi that was so narrow to one another, which kind of also, if you see Ronza's positioning, he's leaning a bit, and like I say, we're not picking here, but he's leaning with his head to the one side, almost to try and see the ball. And his weight is obviously a little bit more to the one side, but like I say, I'm nitpicking here. just a very, very good strike. I'm also, again, like I say, maybe Ocon could have hit the ball up instead of, just to buy us more time to get out, or for Tebza to be there. But yeah, like I say, also just we have to give credit. It's a sad one to accept, though.
Thabo, what did you make of the goal?
Yeah, it's very difficult to analyze a goal because obviously you don't want to sound like you critiquing. But I think obviously as Gulam said, there's ways that we can prevent the goal. And now you look at, okay, if we did have the double pivot still, were they going to be able to score, or was there going to be two pivots that maybe if you had dropped, and then there could have been another pivot there to say, okay, I'm there to cover that. So we tend to look at other things that maybe because we conceded, now we're starting to think what if. So I think yeah, good strike from Canada. Obviously, maybe we could have stepped up a little bit quicker in terms of to get the block in. Could have recovered in positions a bit quicker. We could have dealt with the problem on the wide channel better. So there's a lot of things that we could have done to stop the goal from being conceded. But again, we look at the big chances created. They created 4 big chances. They had 28 touches in our box, and we had 9 touches in their box. We didn't create any big chance. Obviously, the shot from obviously away from goal, like outside the box. So yes, we did control the majority of the game with ball possession, but when you look at the numbers that matter most, touches in the opposition box, big chances created, shots on target, we had 1 shot on target. So it's a game of small margins, and those stats, when you look at them and you see the team that's advancing, and then you look at their numbers, you look at, okay, they maybe dominated the big moments of the game.
Musi, I'm gonna be a bit harsh here, but we ended the game with 0.13 xG, 1 shot on target. Can we leave the tournament saying we tried our best against Canada?
Look, for me, already the fact that we got out the group, that's the win. I think we had a really tough group, and the fact that we made it out being the lowest ranked group, team in the group, people not expecting much, especially after the first game. The fact that we got that and put the performance like we did against South Korea, to win our spot, not to wait for a third position, to win our spot in the knockouts. For me, already that makes the tournament a success. The game with Canada, to be really honest, for me was 2 teams that are equal. As much as they may have a higher FIFA ranking than us, it's 2 teams that were equal. I think we would pose just as much threat. Unfortunately, we didn't today, but we showed that threat against South Korea. And so I don't say the tournament was a failure. I don't think Bafana didn't put their best foot forward. I think once the draw came out and we were versing Canada, now our expectations are, oh, we can take these guys on. Had we then played Brazil or Argentina or France and lost, then everybody would be like, yeah, but we played the top 5 teams in the world. We expected to lose. But once we got a team that we felt and we can see that we are on par with, the expectation is maybe we win here. It's one of those games, again, we keep mentioning, with the smallest margins at this level of competition. I look at the pass that, I'm not sure who played it, the pass to Reyners. He was through alone, but the touch, was not good. So those are small defining moments. On another day, Reyners controls that on his left, on his right foot. We've seen him finish with both feet in the PSL, in the Champions League. So it's such fine margins that either you stay or you have to leave the tournament. So obviously I think you were disappointed because we lost, but I don't think it's a disappointment in terms of the game. I don't think so.
Yeah, if I can just add on there as well, Carl. We spoke the last game, South Korea. We created a lot of chances, and we spoke about the transitions, our attacking transitions. And I think what we need to factor in with today's game is that Canada actually they planned on how to stop our attacking transitions. A lot of moments where they committed fouls at the right time, tactical fouls to stop the counter attack. They counter pressed really well. They ran back, got behind the ball. So they did what they needed to do to stop that counter attack. And if you look at our performances in the last few weeks, and this is one of the reasons why things like XG is something that we must be very careful when we're using it, because it's a factor in we've created most of our chances like this, and now we're going to say against South Korea we had a 1 point, I don't know exactly what it was, 1.3 xg, but this game is 0.13. But we need to understand that the opponent is coming with the plan to stop how we create our biggest chances. So now if we also need to go back and start saying, okay, if we can't create our chances from attacking transitions, how else are we creating those chances? And also, we yes, we controlled possession. Yes, we did all of those things, but at the same time, we control possession in what zone of the field? Where was that possession mostly? Where was it most effective? Were we able to maintain possession inside their half, inside their defensive third, in our attacking third? So we have to start looking at those things a bit differently. But I'd like my original point. Canada actually did really well to stop our attacking transitions, and it was evident in the game as well.
Gulam, can we leave the tournament with our head held high?
Well, we should. I don't think we have a reason not to, and we didn't speak about this before, and I think we should, and it's important. Egypt have won their first game in 92 years at the World Cup. It sounds easier than it's done, but none of us really realize that a powerhouse of African football in 2026 has won their first game at a World Cup. And we've won games in the World Cup before, so we should be proud of that. We should be proud as South Africans that we made it out of the group stage, not as, like Musi said earlier, not as the third best ranked team. We had an automatic qualification. So we've, if we all were sitting here before the World Cup, we all could have easily said, listen, third best is the target. If we can get that and go through, it's great. We've superseded that. And yeah, the first game was tough, second game better, third game masterclass, and I don't think this game was bad at all. I'm with the other guys. I thought we performed well. Canada equally performed well, and it's the mini margins that will define the game. And two teams are trying to make history to go into the next round again. So we can't say we did bad. We have to hold our head up, and regardless of the first game, Bafana with Hugo Bruce has managed somehow or the other to bring the country together again, and that's also important.
I just wanted to add something interesting. I saw that out of the 10 African teams that qualified for the World Cup, 9 went through to the last 32. And I mean, there was a lot of people talking and saying that there's 10 spots is too much for Africa. And I mean, 9 of those 10 teams all made it through to the last 32, and that's something that we should be proud of as a continent.
100%.
Thabo, who were some of the star performers for you today from both teams?
I'll start with our team. I think our players played well. I think Yaya was decent as well for today's. I think Ocon was also decent. Mbokazi stood out for me, to be honest. Duels, aerial duels, fighting on V1 duels, just showed the physical presence. And then I think Aussie came alive a little bit in the second half as well. And yeah, there were some glimpses of really, as I said, in the first half. So I think I will say again, the thing is, this is the same Bafana Bafana that now has raised the bar of performance. So now we're looking at them with a different eye, because now they have raised the bar in terms of performance, and now we can look at Bafana versus Canada and say we could have won, because now you know what Hugo Bruce has done with the team and the technical team and the players as well. They have raised the bar, so I think it's very good. I think everyone stood out in terms of what they did for Bafana Bafana for this tournament. So it's very hard to single out players, but I think I'll say Mbokazi for me showed that he's there. Yeah.
Reyaad, who was some of your star performers today?
Obviously Mbokazi, I thought was magnificent. I thought he was actually a great tournament, to be fair. I think he was solid each and every game I watched him. Ronza made some crucial interventions. The fact that he had the ball or he kept the ball, Canada didn't know what to do, which also helped us. Um, yeah, I thought those. I'm just from. like I said, I'm gonna be very critical, but for me, those two really, more especially in Bukazi, stood out. And like I said, the whole tournament, he's been solid.
Gulam, who was your standout performance?
Me, you know my answer. I say everyone performed well. They all
Yeah.
put us in a corner in the first game. We were all up in arms in what we were doing. And 3 games later, we can say everyone lifted their hands up from the technical team right to the players on the pitch and picked their hands up and gave all of us hope again. So how do you, whoever was on the pitch, and we can't exclude those who were just training players because they play their part. We don't get to see it, but they do actually play their part in the background. You saw, I saw Goss at some stage off the bench trying to motivate the guys to keep going. I can't remember if it was before the goal or after the goal, but you saw this. You saw the celebration in the previous game where Lyle hasn't been playing, but he's running to celebrate. So you can see that it's a team that's together, a team that's started off poorly to all of us. I don't think anyone can deny that. In terms of on the pitch, and we've grown and we've put our name on the map again of the world as South Africa. So the world will continue talking about us.
Carl, one of the standout performers, Mbokazi, has recently been linked with a move to Nottingham Forest, according to local media. Do you think he has the characteristics and the ability to play in the Premier League?
No, 100%. He's 20 years old and he's bossing it at the World Cup. That's not an easy thing to do. Going to the States to play in the MLS and then being chosen for the All-Star team in the MLS. And again, 20 years old and he's performing like that every game in the World Cup. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy to play in the EPL, but I think you need a certain type of character to make it as a pro footballer on that level. And he shows at a young age that he has that character within him to fight and to keep going and to work hard. It all depends on, he definitely has the ability, and for me, he will do well there if he has the right mentality and he has the right dedication and the work ethic. Because it's not easy, but if he has those things, I think he will do well. Physically, he's there, technically, he's there, tactically, he's there. So I don't see why he can't play in the EPL.
Musi, we've also seen in local media that Relebohile Mofokeng has been linked with a move to Bayer Leverkusen. Do you see him working out in the Bundesliga?
Yeah, well, I think especially with Bayer Leverkusen is a team that almost like Dortmund have taken what the world would deem as undervalued players and turn them into superstars or high-valued players who then move on to bigger clubs. So they have really good individual player development pathways. The German league is also I would think the German league is one of the similar leagues to PSL if I would compare it with most European leagues, with Italy being a little bit more defensive, with the French league, really high tempo league, maybe also similar to PSL, not as physical as the English Premier League. So I think Bundesliga is a great spot. If that is true, that it would be a great spot for him to be. But just to answer a previous question that you had for the guys as well, my standout players would be Ime Ocon. I think throughout this tournament, every game he's gotten better. I think even today, when the guys try to put little pressing traps on him, we saw twice him able to come out of those situations really comfortably. He's been strong physically as well in the game against Czechia. Dealt quite well as well with the aerial balls. But today, to be really honest, I was impressed with the captain of Canada before Alfonso Davies came in, Eustachio. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I saw that he had 25 of his 30 passes that he attempted in the opponent's half were successful. So in our half, it's 90%. And he had 5 key passes, which means he had 5 passes that led to a shot by a teammate. And then obviously he then scored the winning goal. So a really good game. But I think I leave this tournament. Mbokazi is Mbokazi. His trajectory has just been, one way. But Ocon, I think before the World Cup as well, was getting a lot of criticism in the friendlies. And to see his progression all this way, I'm really impressed by him.
Reyaad, can you see Rele shining in the Bundesliga?
I feel like why not? I feel like he has all the capabilities, you know. Size shouldn't matter. I feel like he's blessed, he's sound. Um, you never know. That move could work out and really turn out to be something that becomes fruitful for him, you know. And he moves on to bigger and better after that. But I think it would be a great move. You know, like I said, it's always a positive to get your foot in the door. All of us players, we would love to be going overseas. You know, so the fact that we have interest and that those kind of teams coming to knock on our doors, meaning that we're doing something right, which is valuable. You know, so he needs to go. He has to go very soon. And like I say, there's many more to come, you know, and Mbukazi Ocon is opening the doors and showing that the potential, there's so much more that we've got here. But like I say, to have his to have that kind of um, headline that Bayer Leverkusen's interested is really massive, not only for him but for the country and for the next generation. You know, that to show that there's people that are interested and they're watching to see what you're doing.
Thabo, are you expecting to see more of our players go overseas after shining at the World Cup?
No, yeah, definitely. There's nothing stopping our players from, playing overseas. They've shown that they can handle the big stage. It's the biggest event in the world of football. So if they can hold their own in the World Cup, I think you saw Maseko coming in. This is the player that struggled for game time at his parent club last season, but he showed that he can come in and impact the game and have good offensive actions. So I think. And what's nice is that all these players are under 23. So it's showing us that, the next generation of players that are coming up, they have the potential to play overseas and to hold their own. And Mbokazi already done that. Really can show that he can play there. Ocon is doing that in Germany. So I think it's a good thing to see that our young players are doing well and they have the potential to obviously to go far in football.
Gulam, are you expecting to see some of our players get big overseas moves after the World Cup?
I think I can't. Everyone has said what they've said. It's you can't agree more with what they've delivered on the pitch. And the only way to move or make bigger moves is to put yourself on the map and make everyone see what you're doing. And like Thabo just said, if you compete against the highest, it's Mexico, it's South Korea, Czechia, all strong, robust players that they faced. So that means our players are able to contest at the highest stage in more stronger physical leagues. And it can only benefit us because, like I said before, is maybe the one thing we are lacking is that speed of play, uh, especially in transitions where we go into a transition phase and then we just retreat into a possession phase very quickly. We're not that effective in this game specifically, trying to terminate those actions. And maybe that those moves, it would have been nice if Nkota was around to see with his, if he wasn't injured, if he was part of the setup, because he has that drive. And Tapelo struggled a little bit today, not like the previous game, struggled a little bit more today to find that space. And the balls we were speaking about last week, where we were looking to stretch the defense at times and playing the ball over the top and putting the South Koreans under a little bit of pressure. We couldn't find that today. But in terms of players going, the world is your oyster. So and it shows. And Mbokazi's move to MLS, it's not about where you are going, it's about what you do when you arrive there. So the league stature doesn't matter. That only matters to us because we don't rank the MLS. I'm pretty sure the MLS don't rank the PSL. So it is what it is. It's when you go is if you get the opportunity, just do what Mbokazi has done and do what Tapelo Maseko has done, do what Nkota has done, and cement your place and make those places look lucrative for those regions to still come and look back in the PSL to take more players.
Bafana's World Cup journey is over, but our story is just getting started. Hugo Bruce has said before that he will retire after this World Cup, which means we're going to get a new head coach. To the Football Insights panel, thank you for another fascinating conversation. To the viewers, please like, share, and subscribe. And just because Bafana are out of the World Cup doesn't mean we're not going to do content. We will be doing more content on the other teams. Stay tuned.